Hello everybody. We're back in the garage. Today we are going to look at the VTA 6. There are several models. This is a VTA 6 SW, which means it's single phase. There are two models of the three-phase machine. This is 230 volt single phase. There are 208 three-phase. One is a COSTCO version referred to as the HMVC. That's the COSTCO, that's the VTA 6S HMVC. Alright, so I'm just going to run the grinder real quick. That racket you hear is the bag shaker. It's got a wooden, this is an older one, it's got a wooden dowel in there, and that kind of makes the noise a little louder on that aluminum shaker plate. It grinds coffee really fast. The three-phase model will do like 5 pounds in a minute. This is the single phase, it's just a little bit slower. We have the hinged lid on this model. There's an over limit down here. And let's see, before we start looking, we'll go ahead and unplug our grinder. There is the outer the hinge lid, the outer hopper, the inner hopper. They used to be brown, now they're black. This one's brown. There is a finger protector with a magnet on it, which catches any kind of metal going into the grinder. And there's an arrow in that inner hopper that shows the direction the burrs should be rotating. On the three-phase version, it is possible to hook up the two hot wires in so that the polarity is reversed. So if it's spinning the wrong direction, it's really simple. You just take the plug or the outlet, but only electricians should really do this, is you swap the two hot wires, and that makes it spin the right direction. We are going to start with taking the top casing off. To take the casing off, we have to loosen these stainless knobs. They are lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. Then there's two clamps that hold the top case on top securely. They have the words unten printed on the bottom side. Unten means down, so those go on the down side. And then to remove the top casing, we also have to remove the knob from the adjustment. And on some of the older models, you may have a narrow one that does not unscrew. It's just connected to this piece. So then often requires a little bit of a slap just to dislodge the top casing from its seat. And you'll see underneath, this is the inner hopper I was talking about. These three screws here are holding the finger protector on, which is this piece that makes it so you can't really access those burrs by sticking your finger down in there. Directly underneath, what we find is the top of the grind chamber with the adjustment ring mounted to it. The adjustment ring has a piece of foam on it. That foam sits behind the adjustment guide or scale and stops coffee grounds and stuff if something was to be coming from the top side from getting in there. It just kind of helps keep everything neater. This does the same thing, stops beans from being able to accidentally get on this ledge and go rancid. Before we take the top of the grind chamber off, one thing we should look at, there is a safety switch. It's kind of aqua blue in color, held on by two screws. That safety switch is mounted on the back of the grind chamber, the lower portion of the grind chamber. The top portion of the grind chamber has a little half moon piece attached to it, and that's what's pushing down on the switch to make it give you continuity so that when you tell it to come on, it will run. Okay. Alright, so we are going to disassemble the top of the grind chamber from the bottom of the grind chamber. These hex head bolts are 4mm, and you have to move the adjustment ring to get access to them. They have a little washer with them. Try to keep track of that washer. You have to move the adjustment ring over that way to get access to the third one. Once you have those off, what you may notice if the grind chamber hasn't been off in a while, then you have trouble separating the two pieces of metal because coffee oil is kind of holding it together. And on some of the VTAs there's what feels like a magnetic little bit of stick also. But there's a bar on all of them that pokes out right here in front of this beefed up piece of metal. That is a little pry point that you can use to pry up, and it will break that little bit of sticky bit that most people have to deal with. Once we have gotten the top of the grind chamber off, what you see is the bushings that go along with the handles and stuff. You can remove them if you want. We really don't have to for this portion of the video. Here is the safety switch. And in the center on this one you have a 5mm hex head bolt. On some you will see a 4mm, on some you'll see a flat tip. You'll find different sizes of these little washers. And I'm just using my hand to hold this, to hold this rotary carrier from spinning. We need to remove the center bolt, which I already did, and we need to remove the lower burr. Once we're down to here, we need to remove these two screws. They go nowhere. They are placeholders, and they are meant to be used with a gear puller. In particular, there's a gear puller that Mahlkonig USA sells. Oof. And this is it. This will pull the rotary carrier from a VTA and also from an EK43, either an EK43 or an EK43 short. I have the screws for both grinders already in, and I have them held in with nuts so they won't fall out, so I can just throw this in my bag because it's pretty durable. This goes on top of the shaft. These are the two bolts for the VTA. You simply screw them in equally. You want the, so that when you start applying force, you want that to be distributed across the whole pull. Once you have them the way you want them, you go ahead and pull up, and it took like, a quarter turn or whatever. It just snapped up, and I felt it come loose immediately. So once you have the rotary carrier off, I'll show you. These are the sweepers that run along the side here and really push the coffee out of the grind chamber. They can get bent or even broken, especially in a COSTCO, where sometimes customers regrind coffee. That's what causes the burrs to clog up and become totally caked with coffee residue and oil. It also causes the spout to get clogged. So there's the entire length of the spout in here you need to clean, and the only way to do that is to have it in the on position. So as long as you're unplugged, it's okay. But there's two screws that hold sweepers on. The sweepers are replaceable. If you happen to have an older grinder, you will have a different kind of plate. The plate's a little dirty, and these are a little bent, though I would still consider them functional, and sometimes I will take them out and straighten them a little bit. However, they're pressed in, so they're hard to remove, and they're even harder to get back in. But the sweepers are available for both the old and the new type, so they're replaceable. Also, a difference on a COSTCO VTA would be you would have no lever. You would have on and off buttons. The switch that controls this lever and these on and off buttons and this switch back here are all connected to each other somewhere down in here. And this is where we're going to turn around on this video. So to reassemble, let's go ahead and just place the rotating plate down. And you need to put these two placeholder screws that we used for the puller in first, because the burr covers the edge of them just a little bit, so you can't put them back in once you have the burr in. They do not need to be overly tight, just nothing's going to push them out, just snug enough to keep coffee oils and stuff from getting in there. Then we put the burr. Actually, you know what, let's go ahead and put the center washer and bolt back on. That's a 5mm. I simply finger tight and a little cinch, just a tiny bit of tightness. If you over tight, it just makes it harder to get it off the next time. Put the burr back in, just a little snug. Now when we go to put the grind chamber, the top of the grind chamber on, let's go ahead and move the lever to the off position. Here's the little half moon piece that presses down on the switch. A little bit of a magnetic pull to them, and you put it on there, it'll give you a little blood blister on your finger. When you rotate it almost in near position, you can hear it click the safety switch down. Then you know you're ready to line up your burr holes. There they are. 4mm for these. I personally like to get these finger tight before I give them the extra cinch. So they're all finger tight. Just a teeny little extra cinch, because the grinder does vibrate, and we have those washers on there. They help keep it nice and snug. Okay, so now we are ready to put, well, almost ready to put the casing back on. We put the donut back in the top. Show you real quick, with a 5mm, about 3 inches away from this lever here, there is a hole in the foam. That goes to a 5mm hex. When you loosen that, it loosens this key. And this key for the adjustment ring, we'll just go ahead and take it off real quick just to show you. That's what it's adjusting. This is the ring. By loosening that, you are able to move the ring, or move the ring without moving the adjustment, or you can lock it down and it moves the adjustment. So this is how we're going to use this to calibrate. And sometimes you may find it catching. That usually means it's not level. You know, if you get it down nice and level and it's not tight, it'll slide all over the place. If it doesn't, you also should look at maybe cleaning, because coffee oils can create that area, you know, it can make it into a sticky mess. So, all right. Here is our upper casing. The arrow is on the inside to show the direction of travel of the burrs. Oops, you have to lift the handle and get it into the guide / scale area, and I give it a little smack just to make sure we're seated really well. Then we come over to our clamps, have unten on the bottom. Then we put our stainless knobs on. Careful not to cross thread them. It's not easy to cross thread these. These are pretty coarse threads, so but still be careful. All right, once you have it tight, this side's tight there. That's what I call hand tight. And then I like to come back and just go just a little bit. That was like 1/8 of a turn, if that. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. So, last thing for right now is to screw on the adjustment knob. Alright. Let's see where we're at. We're going to plug the machine in. Because the adjustment plate is so loud, I'm going to go ahead and remove the adjustment plate. So we will take our 5mm. We'll find that Allen head there. So that's where we got chirping right there. So I'm going to loosen the adjustment collar Make sure it's moving freely. Slide all the way over to 1. Lock it back down. Hopefully you're not missing my point. But what we just did was we got the burrs so close that they are chirping. Next video, we're going to show you a little bit about the bottom half of the grind chamber. Alright. Till the next video. Have a good one, folks.